In Unit 8, Part 2, we are talking about information that you might have touched on at the end of 7th grade, but there's a pretty good chance you have not seen this before. Again, there's a lot of material in here, so please make sure you take your notes and ask questions if you have. So in Part 2, we're looking at the percent equation and how to calculate percent of change. So it can be difficult, but if you just follow the rules, it should be easy. So the first thing, this is just, again, cut out of your book. This is the percent equation right here. A equals P percent times B. So if you remember from Part 1, when we say A, we're talking about is being our kind of code word for what that is. Then you have the percent, which is pretty obvious, times B, which is the output. So let's look at a couple examples. So the first thing we're going to do is find a part of a base. So it says use the percent equation to answer the question. Number one is what number is 60% of 35? So again, we have our keywords. It's always going to be is equals percent times of. So it says what number is, which means we don't know that, so we're going to put a variable there. 60% of means multiplication, and we have of 35. So as we talked about at the end of Part 1, I can turn 60% into a decimal, 3.6, and then just multiply that by 35, and I'll get n equals 21. So I'll let you guys try number 2 there. Make sure you ask me if you have any questions on that. The next part says finding a commission, which again can be a little bit difficult. It says a salesperson earns a weekly salary of $175 plus a 4% commission on the sales of bicycle chains in the week. If the salesperson's bicycle sales for the week total $4,500, how much does the salesperson earn for the week? So when someone makes money on commission, there's usually 2 different parts. So this person has a weekly salary of $175, then they also make 4% of their sales, which in this case is $4,500. So there's 2 different parts to the salary. So you want to find the commission first. So the commission is 4% of $4,500. So we know I can turn 4% into a decimal and make it 0.04. We know of means multiplication, and then I have $4,500. So when I actually multiply that out, I'm going to wind up with $180. So if the question asks for how much money the salesperson made from commission, it'd be $180. But the question asks for how much did the salesperson earn for the entire week, which includes the salary plus the commission. So you're given the salary of $175, and then you can add the commission of $180. So the total salary for the week is going to be $355. On the next section, we're still using the percent equation. We're still using this A equals P percent times B. But now instead of finding a part, we're going to find the percent. So number 1 says what percent of 120 is 30? So again, I'm going to underline my keywords. My equation goes is equals percent times of. So the is number is 30, so 30 is going to go here. I'm looking for the percent, and then it's of 120. So I'm going to rewrite this as 120x, and then we know from very early in the year that to solve this, I'm just going to divide both sides by 120. When you do 30 divided by 120, you're going to wind up with the decimal 0.25. The question asks you what percent, so all I'm going to do is move that 2 places to the right and make it 25%. Number 2, I will leave for you guys. On the top of the back side, we are working on finding the base now, so we're still using the percent equation, which I rewrote for you up here on the top of the paper, but now we're going to find the base. So it says 18 is 24% of what number? So again, because is equals 8% times of. 18 is, so 18 is my number there. 24 is my percent of what number, so that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to turn 24% into 0.24, just turning it into decimal. So I have 18 equals 0.24x. So to solve for x, I'm going to divide both sides by 0.24. And since I'm dividing by a number less than 1, my answer should wind up bigger than the original. So 18 divided by 0.24 is going to give me 75. Okay, so don't get confused there because you're dividing and getting bigger. If you divide by something less than 1, it should increase. 2 I'll leave for you guys. And there's a couple word problems here, which can be a little bit difficult. I'm going to do one. The second one you'll do very similar. So you should be able to figure it out. Number 1 says your friend paid $17 for a shirt. This amount was 85% of the total amount your friend spent at the photo store. How much money did your friend spend? So I have $17, which is what they paid, and I have 85% of the total amount. So is equals percent times of. 17 is the amount that I paid. 85% of the total, which is what we're looking for. So I'll rewrite this 17 equals 0.85x, and to solve, I divide both sides by 0.85. Again, I'm dividing by a number less than 1, so my new number should actually be bigger, and in this case, it'll be 20. So you spent 17 on the shirt, which was 85% of the 20 total registered. Again, try number 2. Ask questions if you get stuck. The second thing we're going to talk about in this part is percent of change. Okay, so percent of change has a very specific formula you have to use, which I cut out of the book and put right there. Okay, so to find the percent of change, you're going to do the amount of increase or decrease over the original. So I just call this the change, which will be either up or down over the original. So for the first example, you have an original of 27 and a new of 36. So you're going to find the amount of increase or decrease just doing the bigger number, which is 36 in this case, minus the small number 27. And then it's always over the original. So it's big minus small over the original. 36 minus 27 gives me 9. So I have 9 over 27. And then I know that a fraction means I'm doing division. When I divide that, I get a really long decimal, which is just 0.3 repeating. But they're asking me for the percent, so I need to turn that into a percent by going 2 places to the right. So my percent is 33.3 repeating percent. Now this by itself doesn't mean anything because they're asking me for the percent increase or decrease. My new number is bigger than my original, so we know that's going to be a percent increase. So you can just draw an arrow or actually write up. Going over another example, my original is 275, my new value is 66, so I need to do the change, which is big minus little, bigger number minus small number, over the original, which is 275. 275 minus 66 is 209, and then in my calculator I can divide that by 275, and I wind up with 0.76. Again, I'm not there because I'm looking for the percent. I'm going to go 2 to the right, I get 76%. Question asks for the increase or decrease. In this case, my original is going down, so I say that's a 76% decrease. And you can write out the word, draw an arrow item. 3 and 4 I'll leave for you. Just follow the exact equation that I showed you in the 2 problems before. The next section says finding a new amount. This can be a little bit more difficult. I'm actually going to do both examples for you, and then just ask me if you have any questions. So the first one says to increase 120 by 70%. So what that means is I'm going to have my original 120. Since I'm increasing, I'm going to add 70% of, which is multiplication, 120. So I have my 120, 70% I need to turn into a decimal, and then I'll multiply that by 120. So 120 plus 0.7 times 120 is 84. So when I add those together, I'll wind up with 204. So that was for an increase. My original amount, which was 120, plus 70% of 120. For a decrease, I'll just subtract instead of add. So I start with my original 125. Now I'm going to subtract 36% of that 125. So I need to turn 36 into a decimal, just put 36, and multiply it by 125. 0.36 times 125 is 45. So I'm going to do 125 minus 45, which gives me the amount of 8. So again, common sense says if I'm increasing a number, I need to wind up with a bigger number, which is group number 1. If I'm decreasing, I need to wind up with a smaller number, which I did here. I'm going to leave both of these word problems for you guys to get to do your best. If you need help, feel free to ask.